but I do believe that they have betrayed him since. Like, there are people at Turning Point who Charlie texted the night before and said they're going to kill me. If you're trying to figure out who killed Charlie Kirk, wouldn't that be a good thing to come forward with and to the public and say Charlie thought that he was going to be murdered the night before? They're fighting over his memories.
It's going to be a smoking gun of something in the Epstein files. But what is in the Epstein files is, yes, President Donald Trump is probably mentioned. He was mentioned in the Epstein file dump back in February.
There's going to be a lot of financial reports that are coming out, and I, first and foremost, do not believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I want to be very clear on that.
So Candace Owens may have just blown a massive hole in the story surrounding Charlie Kirk's death, because according to Candace, there's one question nobody inside conservative media seems willing to answer right now. What exactly did Donald Trump know, and what role did he play behind the scenes after everything happened? As you guys probably know, ever since Charlie's death, the conversation has been focused on TPUSA, Erika Kirk, and the chaotic fight over who would take control of Charlie's legacy. But Candace is now suggesting there may have been much bigger political players involved, and that's where things start getting uncomfortable. For one, Candace never bought the story about Tyler Robinson being the only one responsible for Charlie's death. She believed he was the fall guy in a much larger conspiracy. Candace has pointed the finger at multiple people in positions of power, questioned their motives, and investigated their actions around the time Charlie died. And now she's turning her gaze to Trump. And what has people paying attention is that Candace isn't speaking like someone repeating internet rumors. She's speaking like someone who believes key details are being deliberately kept from the public. And the more Candace talked, the harder it becomes to explain the inconsistencies.
Who eliminated Charlie Kirk? Good question. If you watch this C-SPAN interview on July 11, 2025, and you read the New York Times article and pair it with this, you'll start to wonder,
Now, all of this really kicked off when Candace Owens jumped on X and made one of the most explosive claims she's made since Charlie's death. Instead of talking about TPUSA or the ongoing battle over Charlie's legacy, Candace shifted the conversation directly towards Donald Trump, and what she wrote immediately had people doing a double take. Candace posted, "Absolutely wild to learn that Donald Trump called Charlie and reprimanded him about his coverage of the Epstein files. On July 12th, the day after I keep insisting I made a decision to kill Charlie, according to our timeline." Now, whether people agreed with Candace or not, that statement poured gasoline on an already volatile situation. And then she brought Erika Kirk into the conversation. According to Candace, she couldn't understand how Erika could continue appearing alongside people she believed were connected to what happened to Charlie. In one of the most personal parts of her post, Candace wrote, "Also, this absolutely makes my skin crawl about Erika hugging Trump. That woman is truly despicable, anything but a legitimately grieving widow." That comment alone sent Twitter into complete chaos. But before long, the focus shifted away from the post itself and toward the evidence Candace attached alongside it. Because buried underneath that thread was a link to a New York Times Magazine article that supposedly detailed what really happened between Charlie and Trump behind closed doors. And once people started reading it, the entire conversation changed. Now, before we get into what was actually inside that New York Times article, we need to talk about why Candace Owens feels so strongly that there was something bigger happening around Charlie in the weeks leading up to his death. As you guys probably know, there were already rumors that Charlie was under enormous pressure regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. According to leaked messages, certain donors wanted him to shift his position and publicly distance himself from Tucker Carlson. And Charlie didn't seem happy about it. In one of the messages that quickly spread online, Charlie wrote, "Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." For Candace, that message changed everything, because she viewed it as proof that Charlie felt trapped between powerful people who were demanding loyalty and the public image he had spent years building. From her perspective, Charlie wasn't just dealing with political disagreements anymore. He was dealing with pressure that could damage his reputation, threaten his business, and potentially put him at odds with some very influential figures. And that's why Candace keeps returning to the same conclusion. She believes Charlie knew he was making enemies. Now, on the surface, none of this seems to have anything to do with Donald Trump. But according to Candace, there was one connection hiding in plain sight the entire time. And once that New York Times article surfaced, people finally understood why she started side-eyeing Trump, too. Now we can finally talk about what was actually inside the article Candace attached to her post. The piece was titled "Inside the White House Freakout Over the Epstein Files." And as the title suggests, the article was about the panic allegedly spreading through the White House and Trump's inner circle as the Epstein controversy continued dominating headlines. But buried inside that story was a section that immediately grabbed everyone's attention. See, according to the article, one of the biggest frustrations facing Trump's team was that influential conservative voices refused to stop talking about the Epstein files. According to the article, Trump's advisors were desperately trying to move the conversation away from Epstein. But while that was happening, conservative influencers like Charlie kept bringing it right back into the spotlight. Take this clip, for example.
They were waiting for this. You see, Congress, they brought in a lot of the Epstein victims, and it's undoubtedly terrible what Epstein did to the underage high school girls and them and abused them.
And apparently that became a serious source of frustration. Listen to this excerpt from the article. Trump told aides he was very unhappy with some of his most influential supporters, including Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, and Megyn Kelly, all of whom were publicly using the administration to come clean. Kirk had held a Turning Point USA event the previous day that turned into an Epstein grievance fest, with one speaker after another bashing Bondi over her handling of the situation. Trump had called Kirk and scolded him. And that's the sentence that changed everything for people following Candace's theory, because suddenly there was confirmation that Trump had personally reached out to Charlie and expressed his frustration. Now, for most people, that might sound like nothing more than a political disagreement, but for Candace, this was much bigger than that. She was convinced this was proof of a deeper layer to the story that nobody was talking about. Now, this is where the situation completely exploded online. For people who already believed there was more to Charlie's death than the official explanation, that article felt like validation. Not necessarily proof or anything, but validation that powerful figures were paying close attention to Charlie in the weeks before his death, and that he may have been creating problems for people who wanted certain conversations to go away. As you guys probably know, a lot of Charlie's supporters never fully bought into the idea that the entire incident began and ended with a lone gunman. From their perspective, there were simply too many unanswered questions. So when the article revealed that Trump had allegedly called Charlie and reprimanded him over the Epstein issue, people immediately started connecting that information to theories they had already been discussing for months. And they didn't waste any time sharing their opinions. One post that gained traction included a screenshot of an email from the Epstein files that mentions Trump, along with the caption, "I have zero doubt the government of Israel and our government is the reason Charlie is not here anymore. Charlie would not have stayed quiet as Trump sold our country out. He left the pro-Israel cause, pushing for the Epstein files release." That post got almost 1,000 likes, and it perfectly summed up what a lot of people believed about the situation. Because if we're being real, that article didn't answer most of the questions people had. If anything, it created even more. And that's exactly why Candace believes the story doesn't end with that phone call. But through all these theories, timelines, and questions, there's one person Candace has never stopped coming back to: Erika Kirk. And that's where things get especially controversial. From her perspective, the relationship between Erika and Trump appeared to become weirdly close in a very short period of time. Trump attended Charlie's memorial. A few months later, he publicly acknowledged Erika during a major speech. Then came to the presentation of Charlie's posthumous Medal of Freedom, which Trump personally handed to Erika. And not long after that, Erika was appointed to replace Charlie on the Air Force Academy Board of Visitors. And it's not like these things prove anything on their own, but to Candace, it's in really bad taste for Charlie's widow to be publicly rubbing shoulders with the same names that keep coming up when his death is being discussed. And then there's the fact that, according to whistleblower Mitch Snow, who came on Candace's podcast, there was a high-stakes meeting at Fort Huachuca just days before Charlie died. He claimed to have seen someone he was almost 100% sure was Erika, along with Charlie's head of security, Brian Harpole, and several other high-ranking military officials.
If you had to put it at a percentage that you saw that the girl in the ponytail matches the description of Erika Kirk, what percentage would you put that at?
Those are really rare eyes. That's 95 to 99%. I can't imagine somebody else.
From his perspective, it looked like a serious meeting involving people with significant authority. Now, Mitch admitted he had no way of knowing exactly what was discussed behind closed doors, but the timing was what kept bothering him. Because how do key TPUSA figures end up attending what appears to be a senior-level meeting at a military base, only for Charlie to be horrifically attacked and lose his life in broad daylight a few days later? And that's why Erika and Trump remain at the center of nearly every theory Candace discusses. Because no matter which angle she investigates, the donor disputes, the Fort Huachuca allegations, the Epstein controversy, or the political fallout afterward, she always seems to arrive back at the same place: